Joyful Christian Hermit. Gonna try a video with the phone. I'll just try to set this in the kitchen somewhere. I'm getting the pups ready for their breakfast. And my arm is just horrific pain. It's getting to the point where I can hardly cope with it. Even the ice last night didn't work, but my fault. My hips are getting very painful because I've been sleeping like practically sitting up all the time now. And it's very, very painful for my hips to do that. I was using this wedge and being very propped up, and so it's, last night I tried laying down flat with just one pillow, and a good pillow, to change position, and it was a mistake. It didn't work, not even with ice, and it's excruciating pain in the arm, but I know other people have a lot worse pain, but it's getting to me. Can't let this pain get to me like that. You'd think with morphine and Dilaudid it would help, but not this kind of pain. I'm not sure why, but it's something with the nerve pain, and it's coming. I'm sure it's coming from my back. That's all I can think really, is coming from the back. But aside from that, I had a really lovely day yesterday. My grandson, who's 18 and a half, obviously has picked up on the situation with my family, and so he came over and helped me for a couple hours. He was so delightful. Had put together the scaffolding and helped dig out a tree that wasn't as marked, and so my neighbor bought it. A neighbor across the street bought it from me. So I even made a little bit of money on it. That's the old lady. I'm a wheeler and dealer. Not much, but I did it. It was sort of fun, you know. And it's worth it. I mean, I've taken care of it for 2.5 or 3 years. 2.5 years, I guess. So good to earn a little money watering it and all. But I think the lady told me I paid $26 for it. I can't believe it. But she said it was I got it when it was 75% off. And I did not look up my paperwork, but it was mismarked, or it's just an aberration of a Picea omarica pendula bruns. And it's turned out it is not a pendula bruns, but it is a Picea omarica. It's a beautiful tree, but it's wider than what I want for that space. And they wanted something wider, so I paid probably with tax $30. And I think part of my money that it was less. I'm sure it was more than that, because you get credit there the more you buy, and I already had credit and I used it on that tree. So maybe I made $15. Well, they haven't paid me the extra 10, but I got 40 for it. Anyway, just silliness I'm talking. But, you know, gotta have a little silliness. Anyway, my situation with these men, I don't know. I have considered calling the police and just telling them that I'm going to have to call 911 if they approach me again. I don't deserve that kind of abuse. I did tell the neighbors across the street when they were talking about my yard, how they liked it, and that, you know, I'd had this incident, and it'd been going on for 2 years also, with them targeting me, and they couldn't believe it. The man said, "What? That man? The president now?" And yeah, and it's too bad my video didn't work to catch what all was said and how vicious he was, just so personal and ugly. And I knew when I got inside and got on ice and everything after that situation that it was the devil attacking me. I knew that because he was being so personal and just repeating, I can't stand you. I can't stand you. You make me so sick. And then, yeah, and this was on purpose. You leave your dogs out all the time running around. You never pick up their poop. And he threw this bag of poop at me in a Lowe's bag. And I opened it up later, and it was not Lovey's poop. I know that sounds ridiculous. But he has light colored and wettish poop. And this was, like dark, dark chocolate and practically blackish, and it was sort of dried. It wasn't fresh. And and he said, "This is your dog's poop you didn't pick up. I got it for you." Well, I'd seen Mercy poop, and I had limped over there to pick it up because these dogs escaped by accident. And I kept telling them it was just an accident. They rarely escape, but the wind was so strong it blew the front door open, and they rushed out. Of course they would. And these two know I'm not that able-bodied. They can tell they're smart dogs. And the two of them together are like a team. When they escaped about a month ago, that was my fault, my memory. We were out walking around in the yard, and we went out the front door, and I thought, it's a nice day. I thought, I'll leave the front door open and get some fresh air in that part of the house. And then we came in through the back door. I totally forgot. And Lovey, that's the first thing now he checks when we do come. And I make sure I close the doors now, but he always rushes to the front door or the back door to see if it's open. No, he's not fooling the old lady another time. But I told these men, no, it wasn't an accident. You did this on purpose, and you're not even trying to find them. You're not even trying to get them. Well, I had a bag of treats. I go out, and I stay out there, and I call to them and say, treat, treat, and all that, to try to get them to come home. But they're even smart to that now. They stay out sniffing and having the time of their life, running around the pond, doing no harm to anyone. Other people have their dogs out. I watched them yesterday, no leashes, running around. But the people are out there and I'm out there. My neighbor lady, the nice one, she lets her dog out, but she does not go out with it. First thing in the morning, it's out there, and it's pooped in my yard. I don't care. I pick up the poop. I think she should be out there at least, but she doesn't want to. She's in her nightgown or whatever, wants to relax, and she's used to the old times with dogs, and that's how it was, growing up for me too. I had a dog, and all the dogs could just run around town and enjoy themselves. But it's not that way now, and I understand that. And I don't want my dogs out running because Lovey loves people so much, and he likes to stand up and hug them. He's big enough, he could knock over, he could pull me down if he gets bolts and things, but he gets too excited and rambunctious. But no, they were just vicious, and then got on, well, you gotta get this house done, and what's the other thing? Oh, I said, I cannot run. I cannot chase the dogs. I am disabled. I said, I've got this arachnoid. Oh, yeah, try that one on me again. Oh, yeah, sure you do. Just mocking, and I was very nauseated that day. That 2 days ago, I was so sick. I didn't sleep well that night, and I never do, but extra much, and I was sick to my stomach. And I said, I feel like I could throw up right here. Please, just, stop. And he wouldn't. The other guy tried to chime in, but the other man was on such a roll. But I told him, I said, you are bullying me, and I'm standing up to you bullies. And I did say they always ride their bikes out there in the common area, these two men, old men, and the one looks like Curious George on his bike. It's just so pathetic. But they stood there as he said it again. He said like 3 or 4 times, you make me sick. I can't stand you. I just can't stand you. And, I said, you're full of it. You're just so full of it. When I would say, I can't run, they don't do this. They just, the wind blew the door open, and, oh, sure, oh, yeah, you're full of it. And as they really, well, then I said what I said. I said, go to heaven. And that stopped him because he thought I was going to say go to hell. I said, go to heaven. I'm praying extra for you. And with that, he did stop loud, yelling at me, and got the other man. They had cornered me sort of up by my rose bushes with bikes, angled them in at me. And as they were starting to ride off, I said, you two need to stop riding your bike. Oh, he had said, there's a state law, a state code or something, and you need to read it about dogs pooping out in common areas. It's bad. And I said, well, there's state laws against people harassing the disabled. I said, I'm covered by the American Disability. Oh, yeah, sure you are. And I said, I am. And I said, the state will be on you if you don't stop this. Because with Americans with Disability Act, HOAs are not to pressure, harass, or set deadlines for a disabled person. And I told them with my house when they started, well, you're going to get it finished. It does not look bad at all. My house does not. My outside house. And I said, I'm doing the best I can. But anyway, I told them, I said, you two need to stop riding your bikes in the common area. I said, it's hurting the grass and it's making ruts. And they, they were shut up when I had said, go to heaven, go to heaven. And I said it one time, but then they rode off and they were back and forth talking, and the man was looking at me, but I had my camera up because I said, I am recording this, and then it didn't record. Of all things, but I figured God didn't want it to record for some reason. I don't know. It was recording, but nothing was on it except the last 19 seconds was me getting the dog. Of course, the dogs come then because they knew it was bad, and then they came over to me because the men had scared them earlier and yelling at them. And so we were coming in the house, and it took longer for me to get Lovey, and Mercy immediately came. But I knew it was the devil attacking me because I been so excited and getting it. I'm understanding transitions and how crucial they are. And also I'm understanding the connection of love and suffering in transitions. And this is so much suffering. And the other transition I am in is dealing with my children. I might talk about that in a different video. No, I was not a terrible mother. The one daughter said when I said I was, because, it sounds like all they have is negatives, and two of them cutting me off. What are you going to think? And it's cruel. But, no, I had so many adults all through say what a great job I was doing. I gave everything for my kids except God. The eldest daughter turned away from God in an odd, bizarre way when she was 4 years old, and would refuse to pray. She never wanted to go to church. She liked the youth group, but I think she was angry or something later with God. She always seemed to blame me, but I always looked at, as kids will do that, I've noticed they take out on the person they actually do look to. Because when her dad was doing whatever, she had 9 out of 10 markers of being abused. And she was in therapy. She did something at school when she was just 8 years old. The school had to call the police. the sheriff's department. Um, it was right after we'd been broken into for the sixth time in 7 months, and the sheriff said we had to get out that night. It was just a total ransacking that time. And he said, we think your ex-husband is behind this, but that he's hiring the undocumented grove workers. Fallbrook had all these avocado groves, very active industry then, it's not now. And, but acres and, they only had sheriff's department covering all these acres of unincorporated town and county area, North San Diego County. And they said, there's no way that we can prove it or even catch him, but we're sure that he's been hiring this done because no one has even had anything stolen in the whole area. It was a very safe area, a very nice town, and good schools at that time. But, and I had a good support network there, a wonderful family doctor, but a good church. I was in a Lutheran church. They were all, of course, the women my age weren't good, and they, I think they all felt I was after their boring husbands, but I had so much other to deal with. I wasn't after anyone at all. It's not my style anyway. Me of all people would never break up a family. That was my husband's thing with families that he broke up, but anyway, including his own. But what I'm down to now is, I don't know if the daughter that's told me all these things, I don't know if her sisters even told her the truth. And her husband was in on it too, about, oh no, we're glad she's out of this state. We don't want her back. We don't want her around us. And my daughter had already told me, the eldest one, that her husband liked his mother, but not hers. That his mother had to be the one. And she lived with them, and she died there. But he always on the surface was nice to me, my son-in-law. And he would say thank you for a gift, a birthday gift, but he hasn't in the last year or two. So I just have to stop it all. My mother used to get upset with me and say, there's nothing you won't do for those children. She says, you've got to stop. You've got to stop. This was when the youngest, I needed to get him in a private school because he was getting lane tracked from a fifth grade teacher on in the public school in my hometown. And I knew he was better. He'd been through too much, and I knew he hadn't settled down. And he wasn't an average student whatsoever. So I put him in a private school, had lots of scholarship help because I was always so low income. And my cousin's kids went there, sons went there, and then in high school he went to the best Catholic high school in the city. And his scout leader from the hometown was counselor there. It had an excellent principal. I always checked with my kids, made sure they had the best teachers. I knew about that. I had my doctorate in education. I had been a school review person for the state of California. I knew how to check, what teachers were good, what weren't, strengths and weaknesses, and I advocated always for the kids with their teachers, and the girls, top students, scholarships, grants for college. They blame me for the university they went to. It was a very top university, small. It was the best I could do. I couldn't take them places out of state to look. Didn't have the money to, travel. I couldn't travel at the time. I had no pain meds to even show them places. My aunt drove them down to see the one school that was the best in the Midwest. It's considered the Ivy League of the Midwest. That's where the girls went. Well, the second one graduated early and was going to go to University of Chicago in an early entrance program. This man had said she was in, and we kept waiting and waiting. She graduated, had her graduation party. I had a lovely home for them. I used everything I had to make it the best for them possible, always. Um, Illnesses protected them. When the eldest, when I picked her up from a visitation from her dad when she was 8, all curled up in fetal position, and said something to me that was so horrifically alarming. And then later on, like I say, something happened in school that they had to report. Got a call from the principal, and it was right after we had to farm out, find places for us to stay until I could get us into an apartment in Fallbrook, because I had to wait like 10 days or something. Hardly knew people, but people from church took all of us in, and different ones though, because they couldn't take all of us at once. And so everything was very tumultuous, and I wasn't getting child support regularly, and not much. Always harassed by the ex. He wasn't even the ex then. Even leading up to when the court hearing for the final divorce, because it got to the point just to settle it, he kept fighting and fighting, trying to get everything. And my mom was, he can't do that. You have to stand. It would have been cheaper had I just let him have everything and gotten the divorce over. But he would go to my lawyers. He didn't use his lawyer for that. He would just go to them to save him money, but cause me then to have to pay my lawyers to defend me. And I never got even half his retirement. I never got it in writing that he would help pay with college, but whatever. He didn't pay a lot of times anyway. He would pay partial payments. He would withhold things so that, like, on Sunday night, I'd get the children back. I'd have to go out and buy things for them. And I would just become a typical thing, because he would keep their stuff. Just anything to make it difficult. And he knew I was injured. It was just, he's a very evil person, but he can be very, very charming. They call it antisocial personality disorder now. I looked it up. It's no longer psycho and sociopathic. It's the other now. They changed it, and it's all umbrellaed under antisocial personality disorder. And it doesn't mean that they're not social. He's very social. He loves to be the life of the party and to impress people. And he had warned me when he was leaving that he would do everything in his life. He would even spend the rest of his life to destroy me. And he wouldn't stop until he had me destroyed. And he said, that includes taking everything you have, including the children. And at that time, I don't know, because I was scared of him. He could get very volatile. And he tried to kidnap the kids once. It was horrific. I had a witness there at least. But that was awful. See, the kids don't remember any of this. They've blocked out all the bad, even the bad things that he did with the eldest daughter and the brother when he was 5.5. At Christmas in '89, they came back, and the oldest girl, she was in 8th grade, crying, "Mom, we're never going back. We're never visiting him again." And I said, "Why?" And she told me, and what he was doing with with my little boy. And I talked to him. I asked the other daughter, yes, and the little boy was sobbing, "Yes, Daddy's doing this, and I don't like him. I don't want to be with him. I don't want to go back." And so I said, "You don't have to." But we were getting ready to go to court to see if we could get out of state. Right then, the next week in January, court date, I had to call a lawyer and say what the girls had said and what little guy had said. And he says, "No, it's going to, sorry, it's going to have to all stop. You have to call CPS and report this." So that took months of investigation. And this lady then, of course, was charmed by him, by my ex, by that. We were divorced then. It's just horrific. All that I have been through, all the protection. I would have stayed there, But God kept having nightly dreams for a year that I was to move, take them back, and it had to be my hometown. Later, I realized, because my bedroom window was shot out, I was propped up on the bed. The children were laying down. Whoever didn't see them, but shot either over the fence or through a hole or a crack in it. But at about 8:30 at night, I had the light on, and so I can only assume he hired someone to do that, trying to kill me. But it would have that would have been next. I think I would have been if I hadn't gotten out of there. I think that's what God wanted, was me to get them out safe and get me out. And we won in court. It was a miracle in court. But it was scary. It was scary. He flipped out at the judge. It took two men to get on top of him. He was lunging for the judge. But it's so what I've been through, and the kids. But I was always protecting them and providing, and so no, I was not a bad mother. And so many adults told me. My mother was very direct. If I had been a bad mother, listen, she would have told me. So I think a lot of it is they have blocked things, and Dr. H says it's typical for kids to bury, and it's best to leave it buried. But I think the oldest two, I read this antisocial personality disorder can be in part inherited genetic, and I thought two of them are apples that haven't fallen far from their father's tree. And it's hard for me to have to say that and to admit it, but my son has changed. He just so reminds me of it, and so I'm not bothered that he cut me off. I mean, it was very upsetting when he cut me off 2.5 years ago, but I was tired of the abusive when he'd yell at me. And this isn't the first time that the kids have been this way. And they don't like my chaotic life. The devil attacks me. They are not. My son is so against religion now, but he was a good Catholic. He wanted to be a Catholic. It's just too much, and I have to accept, and I need to just let them go. I don't know if I can trust the second daughter, if she even, I'm sure that her sister and brother have told her these nasty things about me, or whatever, that they don't like me, or they don't want to be around me, or don't want to see me, and congratulate her for being the middle daughter, for being nice to me, because they don't want to. They say, she told me this, the one that I live nearer to now, that just wanting to help me out, she said, because she hates to see me going through this so often. But to trust, that they don't like me, and that I had the story wrong. I kept thinking that they were upset with me for moving away from the Midwest and from them, and resented that I lived near this sister. Oh no, they're happy. They don't want me around. And her husband even chimed in and said he didn't. And glad, and thanks to her that she's willing to talk to me, because it relieves them from having to deal with me at all. And same with the son. All these negatives they say about me behind my back. And she told me some of them, because she says, Mom, I don't want to hurt you, but you care so much, and you keep thinking that they really do. But she says they don't care. You think about them, they don't think about you. And all the reasons I had concocted, really I had, for why, trying to figure out why 2 years ago, after the knee replacement, she would tell her sister I was the most negative person she'd ever been around, and couldn't stand being around me. And stood right here in the kitchen that morning she left. I could barely, the pain block had worn off, I thought I'd had a good time with her, but she did tell me, I have to tell you that, and she was sort of shaking. I don't know, she says, it was so difficult being around you. I had a difficult time just being around you. And that was the last thing she said. And so just, I had no idea why. And so I keep coming up with these reasons why that she said that to me, and she wouldn't answer. She wouldn't answer. I asked her husband. He says, you'll need to talk to her. Texted him. At least he responded. You'll need to talk to your daughter. I said, well, she won't say, won't respond. That was it. But they take the gifts I send, but don't respond. Even the girls, they don't say they got them. They don't say anything. No text back. The one granddaughter would answer sometimes a text, but not often. Like, did you get your gift? And yes, but I try to call, going to bed, too late. Yeah. I'll call you, never does. To even say, I gave her my dad's wedding present to my mother. It was an aquamarine set in a 24-karat gold lotus necklace, and she said she loved it in a text when I said, did you get it? Kid, I see their teens, but something like that, you would say thank you, or you would at least acknowledge when you got texted that you received it. And that girl did text back and say she received it, said she loved it, but there's been nothing more. If I text, they don't respond. The eldest one, wouldn't even tell me where she was going to college. My daughter, of course, wouldn't, so I tried to get it out of the granddaughter. But I just can't do it anymore. I think it's wrong. I think I have to let them go, totally. And this one here, she texted me just after all this, in the midst of all this, and I was grateful to her that she told me the truth from, what they were saying about me, but honestly, I used all my money on them from my divorce, everything. Like, my mom was right. I mean, there's nothing I wouldn't do for those kids. And I always knew it was not their fault what happened. And I know I was always trying to make up for it for them. But, and they were hardworking kids. They had jobs. The middle daughter and the son would carry papers around in the hometown just to get a little extra money. We were always struggling financially because I was so low income, well, still am. And then not getting the support. My parents helped pay for special trips for the kids. My mom paid for their sorority all 4 years through their university because they were in a sorority and they liked that. She paid that because she knew I couldn't afford it. And they paid for my son and they helped pay for her overseas trip with college study courses, the extra that cost. And the university gave tremendous grants. And even they knew my condition, and they even called and said that they would pay extra for the one daughter to have her 5 weeks in Israel for a study program. And some couple from somewhere, some wealthy couple, had sent money and told the university, if there's some deserving girl, we'd like to pay for their trip. And I got a call and said that we have money, your daughter can go. And so all people would chip in, even in the town. My son's Eagle Scout thing, that was a lot of work, and I had to do a meal and stuff, and the scoutmaster, my ex, flew in for that, and wanted to get the glory, and his scoutmaster, Eagle Master, or whatever, said to my son, your mom's pinning this on you. And my son told me that, and he says, and Mom, you deserve it. My son was close to me up until the end of college, and that's when his dad got involved. And so he got the kids, that's fine, but he didn't get my soul. That was the one thing I told him. It was the Holy Spirit gave me the courage when he was leaving, way back, uh, when he left, and his last thing when he kept threatening that he was going to spend the rest of his life to destroy me. I said, you'll never get my soul. And that's where it stands right today. He's got the kids for whatever. They're adults. They don't need to speak to me. They don't need to respond to gifts or anything. I sent a card to my daughter. This is the plate. This is the only gift I got from my ex-husband. Anything. I thought it's beautiful. I'm going to sell it for Mother's Day. I hope I can get it sold for Mother's Day. I never got anything when the other kids were born, and this wasn't when my daughter was born either. But it was the next year. She was born just a few hours after his birthday, and it was Mother's Day that year. My husband's birthday was when she was born. But it's just one of those things that I do realize. No, I wasn't a terrible mother. I gave my all. I'm not perfect, obviously, but I know they resent. The two of them do not resent God. My affiliation with God, my love of God. And I think they must resent, because they've asked why we left California, why I took them. They don't have a clue remembering. We even had to get the police to get them released. They have no clue, no memory, evidently. And they were older then, 14, 12, and 6. Yeah, so, and the son, no remembrance of this horrible stuff that his dad was doing. And the eldest daughter doesn't remember. Why did we move from California? What, I didn't say the bad stuff. I said, well, financial. I said, your social life was being disrupted. It was. Parents weren't letting their kids come over and play with them at our house because of fear of the ex-husband coming. Because he would come and he would have his fits and his temper, and you never know. You'd never know what he would do. And other parents realized they didn't want their kids to have a risk being at our house when he would come to harass. Well, but I think I have to just say goodbye to that, and I think God wants that. I think he wants me for himself. It's a transition. He's preparing me for death from this earth also, and I won't have any. I'll already be through saying my goodbyes. And that sounds silly because they've cut me off already, and they did before too. Even with the island place, they were mad at me. They blame me for being duped by a realtor. Catholic one, of course. God always allows these things. It's some Catholic that does something awful that I think to test me if I'm going to leave or not. No, I'm not leaving the Catholic Church, Lord. So I know it's not perfect, just like I'm not perfect, but there's so much good. And God called me into the Catholic Church. I'm not going against God, what he wants. So no, I got to say goodbye to my kids and they have their lives. They're out in the world. I'm not in the world. I know that. They always wanted something. No, they were bothered I wasn't normal. I'm not normal. I'm having to accept that. These cretin HOA men they pick on me, I think, because I'm different. Old ladies don't know how to do plumbing or fix up a house, and they're not up on a roof painting it or anything. So I wear a harness, and I haven't started in this spring yet. And they don't know about trees, or they aren't into things or doing their own, or I think it really has bothered them. big time. And there's something about me, I've been told by people, by good friends, that I'm different, and it shows somehow. Uh, and my dad used to get upset when I first realized and tried to tell my parents, "You're not different, you've got two arms and two legs like everyone else." And John, she's trying to tell us something important, now just listen. And my mom got it, that I'm spiritually different. And I've been blocking, I love my kids so much that I've been blocking the reality of what God is, you know, saying, have some self-respect. Don't let these adults, 49 this Sunday or Saturday, my eldest, the one here just turned 47, and the boy turned 42 in April. Same day as my cousin Philip was his birthday. And I knew my son was going to be born on his birthday, and I suspected it was going to be a boy. I didn't know then, didn't find out then. But it just, and with the ex-husband, and what I blame myself for this is that he would do awful things, and I would be shown mystically, what was going on. And so I understand my kids how it is to bury things, because I buried things. And even in the end, when I knew, and that was part of the reason the ex left. It wasn't fun anymore. These types liked the intrigue of tricking people. Oh, I've got to get going to an appointment. Anyway, they like that, and when the gig is up, and when the person that they are toying with and using for their jollies of cheating and lying and mistreating, control. He had me so controlled, and he'd threatened divorce then toward the end. I'll leave. And he knew I wanted to keep the family together, and he would try to get me to do things that were awful. And I finally said no. And he left. Then he left for good then. He was back and forth. He started leaving 3 weeks after the accident, and then St. Patrick's Day, our snake was left for good. The daughter that's here, when she was in school, and the next day it was a public school, Marquez Elementary in Pacific Palisades. She came home, and it was a Monday. Well, St. Patrick's was on Sunday, and that was the day he left for good. And she came home the next day. She says, "Mommy, our teacher told us about this St. Patrick, and he got rid of the snakes in Ireland." And he says, "We got rid of our snake yesterday." Yeah. Out of the mouths of babes, my uncle, and really wonderful people. They knew what I'd been through. My mom and dad didn't know, but when they found out, then my mom yelled at me. So I'm used to blaming myself for everything, and I realized, no, I wasn't a terrible mother. This daughter here said, "No, Mom, you weren't terrible." But obviously, not what they wanted. And they're so spoiled, evidently, now as adults. And the one here isn't wealthy, but the others have great jobs. The eldest is, I would have to say, probably independently wealthy. And so they have control. They don't need me for anything now. And so they drop me. And I still think deep in my heart that in some ways that she does love me. I don't think she would have come out after the surgery. And she spent, when I was still living in the Midwest, she came and stayed 8 days with me with my shoulder surgery. And there wasn't anything of that I was the most negative person that she'd ever been around. Or that's what she told her sister about what the reason was back in after my knee replacement. Well, I had been, just days before, I had been grilled by the HOA men for over an hour in the front yard. It was awful, and that was the first time that they really attacked like that, but they weren't vicious. They weren't personally ugly and mean, saying how I make them sick or make him sick, or how he can't stand me. I can't stand you. And just the way he said it was so scary. Uh, I'll call 911 if they approach me again. And I think I'm going to call them in advance and talk to someone, just a non-emergency number, and say what's been going on. And I just can't take it anymore. I don't have the health for it. I've got too much pain. I don't get a good enough sleep to be able to withstand stuff like that. But my grandson yesterday was so sweet. 2 nice big hugs. Dug out this tree for me and put the scaffolding up, because I don't want to be up on ladders, so I'll do the scaffolding to put the stone on the front of the house. And so at least now that I know that it's my brain changing that's causing the imbalance. So I gotta go, dermatology appointment. And thanks for your prayers. I'm gonna put this behind me. I'm kissing my kids goodbye, and the daughter here, I am proceeding with caution. With caution, and I know what she wants. I mean, she texted me that we do well when we collaborate on work projects together. And I tried to tell her about what was meaningful to me, the transitions and how they are. And I was excited about it. And we were working. I was fixing a leak in her toilet had a leak when we took it apart, took it out. I know how to do plumbing, and I was doing that. I was talking at the same time about all this, transitions and how crucial they are, and to make them positive. And I'm making this one positive. This is a turning point. It's things God wants me to do. I need to be for him totally. The kids no more. The kids no more. And they don't want me. They don't. And this one here, just under certain conditions. So it's still a one-way relationship. Dogs, stop. It's just a dog out there. Just a dog. Oh, good grief, the dog's out there. With an owner. So, but she said just yap, yap, yap. It's just a lot of yap. Just a lot of yap. And I said, what? What I'm talking about? She says, yes. And she says, I didn't ask about it. I didn't want to hear about it. So, see, not nice. So it has to be only what she wants to talk about. So I know that now, so I won't say a peep. It's not, I can't share. So that's not a two-way relationship. But since she likes to do things together, fine. I'm just about done finishing what she needs me to help her do. And then we'll see from there how it goes. But it has to be on her terms. I do understand that. That's the conditions. So, good to know, isn't it? But that's not a two-way. That's not a totally two-way. God bless you all. Thanks for listening. And boy, transitions get very, very painful, but it only means that God is trying to clear things out, wanting me to see things and wanting me to transition. And this is a big one. This is the biggest one in my life, in my heart, because I love my children dearly. And my mom was right. I told her, I said, you're right. There's nothing I won't do for these kids. That's when the youngest was still in high school. And I said, this is my responsibility, is to do all that I can to get them prepared for life and to have a good life, because it wasn't their fault. And it wasn't. I married someone that the psychologists have said they're so good at their art, their conning, that you don't know, and you can be with them for years and you don't know, because they lie. He lied about even where he grew up. I didn't know for several years. He didn't grow up where he said he had. So, but if the kids think he's wonderful, like I told the daughter, she kept going on the other day. As I was leaving, I said, well, he's all yours. He's all yours. So good. Enjoy. So he's got them conned, but it's okay if he does. But they evidently feel then that I was lying to them and that they have to cut me off. So their choice, and God is allowing it. And this will free me once I get over the pain, which it is painful. Uh, you know, it's like a big surgery. I've had a lot cut out of me, out of my heart. I like Mary's sword, 7 swords. I've had three big sword wounds. So I have a child in heaven looking forward. He's with me, and God is definitely too. Bye.